What's up, guys? Ep.30 here, and welcome back to an episode of Katawa Shoujo. Last time we left off, we were talking with Lilly and Akira, and Akira showed us a picture of Lilly and Shizune and Misha, actually, from the past. And now the situation's gotten a bit awkward, because as you guys know, the situation between Lilly and Shizune isn't the best. So now it's kind of getting a little sad here, thinking about the past. But yeah, we're gonna jump right back into this episode. Initially, I think Akira's reaction to be simple, in response to the situation between Lilly and Shizune, but she looks oddly glum compared to what I'd expect. Lilly's expression is clouded as well. What's wrong? It's just that I'll be going to Scotland fairly soon. You're leaving for Scotland again? For a long moment, Akira looks surprised. It's an ill-fitting expression for her. After glancing at Lilly, she turns back to me as if she'd never done so. Yeah, in a couple of weeks, I'll be leaving for Inverness to work at the company's headquarters. It's a pretty big jump in corporation position, and it's not a chance that's going to come again. So Akira's going to leave Japan on what seems to be a permanent basis. I can't help feeling that my assumption that we could all happily while away our days, having fun in this isolated little world, it's coming to an end. It's unsettling. I look at Lilly, mildly surprised that she hasn't told me such a thing despite usually being so forthcoming. She continues to walk with her face fixed pointed ahead. I can't read her expression, nor can I even guess what's on her mind, which is discomforting given how it's usually easy for me to do both. It reminds me of the time when we met at the Shanghai, just before what could be called our first date. At the time, all I could do was comfort her without knowing the cause, and now feels no different. As we finally reach the school dormitories once again, there's a somewhat awkward silence. I don't think I'm the only one who feels it. See you tomorrow then, Lilly. Bye, Akira. Good night, Hisao. See ya. And with that, they walk to the female dormitories. Opening the door to the male dormitories, I stop and look back at them, just moments before their figures disappear behind the heavy wooden door. That was a strange moment when Akira said she was leaving. While that wasn't the first time when my thoughts regarding my new life have been called into question, it's perhaps the first time to do it quite so profoundly. I still don't know what to make of Akira's reaction, much less of Lilly's. The night's chill reminds me to get back to my room before I catch something. My bag's pulling down on my arms with seemingly redoubled weight. If nothing else, I have a date with her set up for the weekend. I just need to stop overthinking stuff and get on with things as they are. The exams are still ongoing, after all, and with the trimester ends and the summer holidays beginning soon, there'll be plenty to keep me busy for a while. As I give a yawn and retreat inside, my thoughts turn to what Lilly will decide to set as the location of our weekend rendezvous. Rendezvous. Alright, so apparently Akira is moving away from Japan, and she is going to Scotland, and possibly permanently staying in Scotland. Whoa, this is fancy. This changed a bit. I'm pretty sure this is about the last thing I had in mind when Lilly said she'd decide where to have her date. No man or woman is dressed in anything but their finest, their formality only matched by that of their surroundings. Rich red wallpaper adorns the walls, as the city lights far below. Listen to his music. A little jazzy. Below flickering glow. Combined with the ambient hum of quiet speech and the high-pitched clattering of cutlery and wine glasses, the mood is very formal, yet relaxed enough for me not to feel too uptight despite this being our first real date. Once we get seated, our waiter leaves to attend to others with a quick bow, after an appreciative nod from Lilly. Far from depending on my help, Lilly has managed to navigate herself around surprisingly easily so far, despite the unfamiliar environment. A light brush here and there, and she's generally quite deft at orienting herself as needed. This was very different than what I was expecting for a first date. My eyes look at Lilly's. I can tell from her face that she's listening to surroundings just as hard as I'm looking. Though, truth be told, my eyes are lingering on her each time they sweep across the room. The red krongsum she's wearing acculates her figure very well and shows off her legs. Even her hair is done up, and the scent of perfume is just noticeable. While my black suit may be a rental, I managed to select an appropriate one. It feels surprisingly comfortable, considering I've so rarely worn one, and fits the setting just as well as Lily's attire. I guess this is a new experience for both of us then. She turned somewhat sheepish. I've never come to a place such as this before, no. One hell of a first date, that's for sure. It's gonna be pretty hard for me to top this. The small giggle, even now our nervousness is dissipating. Her hand skates along the center of the table until it touches the menu, while she takes in both hands and brings to her face. Hisao? As she lowers the beige laminate sheet just below her eyes, I can see another sheepish look. I thought asking the waiter for a menu in Braille would be productive. I can read it up for you, no problem. I take mine and give it a quick read, my small grin faltering. Perhaps there is... What's wrong? There are quite a few items on here, and I'm not completely sure how to pronounce a couple of them. One fine cuisine after another is listed. Most may be in Japanese, but a few are in English and French. I guess it's to be expected, but I have no idea what's in some of these. Oh, this one I recognize. Wait, hang on. You can cook that? A small giggle of amusement comes from behind the paper sheet. Well, I could read them all out, but it'd take a few hours. Is there anything with some kind of fish in it? Let's see. No. 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 Aren't those poisonous? No. 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 They eat that stuff? No. 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 Ah! Here we go. The tuna salad seems to be a good bet. From the picture, it looks like it'd be pretty filling as well. That seems to be a reasonably safe option. Let's order 2 then. I'm pretty sure a couple of these dishes are from poisonous animals. I've had enough deadly run-ins for now. Lily maintains a smile, but there's a distinct lack of laughter. Black humor mustn't be her Wow, that sentence was completely wrong. Black humor mustn't be her cup of tea. Though to be honest, I don't find it exceedingly funny either. There are certainly quite a few interesting smells wafting about. The same is true of the sights, I assume. Never been anywhere quite like this. Fancy Japanese tea house on an occasion or two, but never anything this lavish nor European in styling. Before another word can be said, a portly waiter in a distressingly tight vest appears at our table to take our orders. Provencal tuna salade niskus. Please, 2. I better mess up the pronunciation. I did. I messed up the pronunciation of that too badly. Even if I did, he doesn't show it. And may I have a glass of Chardonnay, please? Hisao? Oh, the same. As the waiter nods and leaves, I suddenly realize what I said, my absentmindedly mimicking Lily's answer. I regret it pretty quickly. Alcohol? Only a bit. This girl is an odd proximity to getting hooked on things, I swear. Surprisingly, that they didn't ask for identification. Then again, I guess we both do look mature for our age. I'll have to take your word for it. I'll add that this isn't what I'd call the type of place to ask such things, though. Good point. We both relax a little into our seats, trying to take our minds off the choking formality of the surroundings. As soon as we do, the same waiter reappears at our table with 2 empty glasses and a bottle, the contents of which are quickly and professionally poured into the former. We both nod politely as he leaves, Lily taking her glass and gently moving it from side to side. The liquid inside glistens as it moves around in the glass, and I have to admit, it makes me a little less regretful for ordering the same. I guess it must take effort to judge how the liquid inside is acting based only on its center of balance. Maybe it's like her origami, taking every little chance to practice her dexterity. I guess I'm not surprised that you know about a place like this. Those who have money would, I suppose. This reminds me of just how completely different our upbringings were. In Yamaku, it's easy to forget about social and economic disparity between students all wearing the same uniforms, living in the same dormitories. Well, Akira was the one to tell me of it. She's come here before, apparently. So that's what they were conspiring about on Friday. And you chastise me for cheating? That's not cheating. It's simply making use of personal contacts. If you say so. Still, I get the feeling that you're more familiar with this kind of restaurant than I am. She pauses a moment, a wistful look on her face before softly smiling. The compliment seems to brighten her mood. You can thank my former school for that. If I were to appear any less, they'd be gravely disappointed. She has mentioned her previous schooling before, but now I'm kind of curious. She seems to think a lot about her past, so I don't see any problems in asking. What was that like? It was prestigious, all girls and Catholic. These facts made my parents choose it for me. Many wealthy families sent their daughters there. From how it sounds, life there must have been pretty strict. I wouldn't say it was a bad experience, but you're quite right. It was very strict. Thankfully, I managed to adapt well enough and make a number of friends. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for my sister. She found the atmosphere and religious aspects suffocating and ended up leaving for a job as soon as she was able to. She gives a small, self-deprecating chuckle. I shouldn't complain about it, though. Not many even have the chance to go to such a school. Do you resent your parents for sending you there, then leaving? She gently shakes her head. My family is highly parochial. My father, business always on his mind, was entirely lost as to what to do with me. In the end, he made the decision that my education was of high priority than staying with the family. He simply did what he thought was best. To say such things so easily, what an unbelievable girl. That said, I'm a little surprised she doesn't think her blindness played any part at all. Though maybe I'm being too harsh on her family. You're too kind-hearted, you know that? Most would hate their parents for something like that. Well, some do. Oblivious to raise my eyebrow, she takes a sip from her glass. The wine slips down effortlessly, her fondness for it's evidently helping her deal with the flavor of alcohol. I can't say the same goes for me. What of yourself? What was your schooling like? Mine? Let's see. It was a fairly normal public school, I suppose. Maybe a bit busier than the norm. I did quite well in class and played in the soccer club. Since I'm the only child and my parents both worked a lot, I wasted most of my free time and money at the arcade with my 3 friends. No matter how much I played, though, I never did manage to beat Mai at any of those matches. Even Takumi and Shin lost to her whenever they tried. Then I'd be left trying to be the responsible adult when Shin and Mai fought again. Just the 4 of us, aimlessly enjoying our childhood. Those were some pretty silly times. I catch myself as I realize that I'm starting to zone out, the days of my old school disappearing to the night sky and bright city lights outside the window. Lily's face is an odd mixture of curiosity and sympathy. Given her strict schooling, I suppose something like this would seem an interesting contrast to the only life she's known. Sounds like your previous school was a lot of fun. I'm not really sure how much of it is nostalgic, but there are some nice memories. That's in the past, though. I can't go back there now, but through my accident, I found a new life I'd never have imagined leading. The peace and calm of Yamaku, a new direction for my future in science, the friendship with Sujin, Misha, and Hanako, most of all, you. She gives a deep, genuine smile as she moves her hand towards me, her fingers just lightly searching out my face before softly caressing my cheek. Her hand reluctantly retreats after a second of warm silence, as we notice the waiter arriving with our meals. Lilly does a deft job of covering her condition, except for the fact that her nod to him is slightly misaligned due to her silence. She really seems to work hard at appearing as normal as possible in public. While I noticed it long ago, I still can't quite gauge whether it's a want to be treated differently, a slight sense of vanity, or some mixture of both. The dish served lives up to the salad name, and the portions pleasantly large, with sliced eggs and tomato. It looks very enticing indeed. Lilly takes her knife in one hand and fork in the other, quickly getting to work on the dish as I do. It's later than when we usually have dinner, so we're both eager to dig in. My cautious screwing of leaves and vaguely meat-like squares with my fork is matched by Lily's silent and measured pruning and chewing. An occasional tap around the sides of a piece of the food to work out its edges is the only giveaway to her lack of sight. I'm done with my meal in little time, Lilly taking the last few bites as I sit observing her. Finish this out? Yeah, it was pretty nice. That much is very true. I never thought a simple salad could be so tasty and filling, but then again, I suppose that's why it costs so much to eat here. Believe me, I know that feeling. It sucks. Food might be great, but goddamn, when you look at the bill, you can just feel your wallet crying. Content with my appraisal, and evidently agreeing, Lily gives a small nod. You know, given that you're part foreign, exotic looking and quite pretty, I'm surprised that nobody's ever confessed to you before. You're assuming nobody did. The simple statement takes me off guard. I shouldn't be surprised, given that I was complimenting her just moments before. Really? I've received several confessions, both in this school and my previous one. Adolescence is a funny time. Just kind of talking as if she's above it herself. Huh. How loosely you could say such a thing. Lily looks surprised for a moment before a playful smirk covers her face. Is that jealousy? What? No, it isn't. You're a bad liar, Hisao. You should take that into account. Then again, I do appreciate how sincere you are, even if you don't intend to be sometimes. I think your honesty will always serve you well when dealing with others. I cleared my throat and mock disapproval of this whole business and tried to steer the conversation somewhere else. To tell the truth, though, I do prefer solitude to being surrounded by others. I don't think I could maintain a social circle like you do. She contemplates this for a moment. I don't think that's true either. I've seen how gentle and caring you are around Hanako, and you get on marvelously well with others, even those whom you hardly know. I think you're quite adept at social situations. But on that note, what of your confessions, Hisao? I'm sure someone like you must have had at least one admirer. As I open my mouth to speak, I can feel my face turn slightly dour. At times like this, I secretly appreciate the fact that she can't see my expressions. Just one. Her name was Iwanako. It was when she confessed to me that I had my heart attack there in the woods during winter. She's like, "Oh, I opened up a mousetrap." Lily finds herself speechless, not expecting for the topic to move into such an area. Recognition has always been something of a concern for her, something that I strive to minimize despite my body's best efforts to the contrary. Afterwards, she visited me for a while when I was in the hospital. For weeks, she came in and talked. It was usually just small talk or classroom gossip, but that was enough. But eventually, she just stopped coming. She was there every day, then every other day, then once a week, then finally one day she just stopped visiting entirely. Did you ever see her again? Wrapped in my own... Ooh, jeez. Wrapped in my own little world, I shake my head before remembering the futility of the jester. Alright, well, I guess we could mention it. I guess. Alright, let's do this. The memory of that single letter Iwanako sent me comes back to my mind. I never saw her again, but after I sent to Yamaku, she wrote me one letter. Lily's face shows an expression I know well. I piqued her interest. I'd be slightly offended that it's simply a matter of curiosity for her, but she's never been very good at masking her reactions. In hindsight, it really didn't say much. What was going on in my old class, how she was faring, and almost as an afterthought, that it was probably best for the both of us that we don't see each other again. After reading it, I ended up reassessing a lot of things I thought I'd managed to work out. For the most part, that letter reminded me that the world around me was still moving, and just how much I'd become isolated from it. And I guess it also reminded me of what I'd lost. She's information some thought before her face lightens up in realization. No doubt she's worked out that it was this letter which had contributed to my angst during that lunch on the rooftop. The rare sight to see Lily quite so lost for words. Her entire persona is a little deflated from her earlier rapt interest. As charismatic as she is, in the end, that isn't any replacement for her life nor relationship experience. Perhaps it is better she sent it than not. How's that? It can be difficult to work out how best to communicate with those you haven't met in a long time. All the more so, considering your separate situations. Instead of doing what was easiest, she built up the courage to talk to you one last time. Not only for her sake, but, from how it sounds, for yours as well. Maybe. I don't hate her for it. Not that I really ever did, but I don't know. Probably a more non-committal answer than I should give, but it isn't without cause. I never looked at the situation from Iwanako's perspective like that before. Seconds pass in silence before Lily speaks again. Moving to Yamaku must have been hard for you, having your friends and even your girlfriend taken from you for no fault of your own. The worst of it passed while I was in the hospital. When all that surrounds you is 4 white walls and a small television, your mind takes on a life of its own. It's like my old school, I guess. I just try not to dwell on what's happened and keep thinking ahead. All that reminiscing does is get me down, and it's largely thanks to you that it feels like things are finally getting back on track. That's pleasing to hear, Hisao. She lowers her face slightly, her expression pensive. I guess I went too far and embarrassed her. I suppose you went through something a bit like what I did when you entered Yamaku anyway, right? I imagine the vast majority of our school students did, after all. You said yourself that you made friends in your old school. I can't imagine many followed you. Lily's deep smile drops, her expression unexpectedly darkening. Even her hands retreat to her lap. After a long while, she speaks. Hisao, can you promise not to tell anyone else what I'm about to... I promise. She looks slightly taken back by my serious tone, but then relents and smiles weakly before continuing. When I moved to Yamaku, I did regret losing the friends I had at my other school. But there was one person whom I most regretted not seeing again. He was the reason I took up English as a future career. Considering she came from an all-girls school, that can't have been a schoolmate then. I rejected the confessions I'd received until then for him. Every time I improved my English skills, his praise was my most treasured reward. It's funny, isn't it? Someone like me, able to boast about the people who have set eyes on me, liking someone so utterly unattainable as my tutor. It truly is the most ridiculous thing. Did you? She quickly shakes her head from side to side. I couldn't. Even then, I knew it was impossible. A silence reigns over both of us. This does seem to explain her ardent focus on her future in teaching English, but I can't help thinking of her confession to me. She lost him without even letting her feelings be known. Did she somehow fear that would happen again, but with me? I don't really know what to make of it. I've heard of such relationships before. Taboos born of such things as puberty and youth. The fact that she had the good judgment not to act on it, though, it's heartening. I know this must sound strange, but please, don't think of me. Why would I think any less of you for that? To be honest, I think he must have been a very nice person if you liked him so much. Not only that, but you stopped yourself before going too far. For a moment, she looks somewhat lost. Most unexpectedly, though. It isn't a second before she starts to laugh. The sound takes me off guard. It's not a giggle nor a restrained chuckle, but honest and genuine laughter. I find myself smiling, and not just at her display of relief and happiness, but for her to trust me enough to let me see this most private of secrets. Before I realize it, I feel her palm touching my face, her touch as gentle as ever, with her thumb slowly stroking my cheek. You're kind, Hisao. I really do love you. Seeing her face like this, with her palm gently caressing my face, I think tonight has been a wonderful night. I guess we've both had pretty weird pasts, eh? I think my most standards, our present is rather odd as well. I smile and hang my head. This woman can easily run rings around me. Of that I'm quite sure. I look back around the room with its continuing quiet hum of patrons. This place probably fits into the odd category too. It's a tad overbearing. That's one word for it, yes. I catch the eye of a scurrying waiter, a short, scrawny guy no older than 20. He kind of reminds me of Kenji, though unlike him, the waiter isn't dressed for winter during midsummer. After a curt bow and an offer to remove our plates, Lilly asks for the bill politely and softly. With expert coordination, he maneuvers around the tables, our plates in hand, to retrieve our bill. In no time, he reappears through the doors, smartly handling our bill to Lilly, who promptly hands it to me, causing him to raise an eyebrow. As I read the small computer-printed leaflet, the cost is completely more than I expected. Hisao? Oh, I quickly stammer out the amount, to which Lilly merely nods and reaches for her purse. Giving her card to the waiter, he disappears once again. That was a disproportionately large amount of money. This statement seems to make Lilly slightly uncomfortable. My family leaves me more than enough for my education. The same goes for my sister, though she dislikes being reminded of that fact. That said, I too dislike throwing money about, but this one time I think I could make an exception, just for you. Not only did you choose our date, but you paid for both of us as well. I think the bridge of my nose and my fingers. Can't believe how high you have set the bar for our next date. She gives a small giggle. I'll be looking forward to it, Hisao. The waiter reappears beside us, as if by magic, and hands Lily's card back to her. Evidently picking up on her lack of sight, he places the card in her hand with an extra, perhaps unneeded, amount of firmness to make sure of her grip. Leaving, he exercises a measure of diplomacy by keeping a neutral face despite my own expression. Clapping my hands together, I stand up from my seat in order to bring an end to our night. Shall we be off then, milady? Alright, I know I went a bit longer with this episode than I normally do, but I actually did want to finish that. I was very interested. So yeah, we're gonna end off right here, ladies and gents. Oh god. Guess we'll find out what happens later. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like button down below. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe as well. I was very, very interested to see what was going to be going on in this episode, so that's why, as I said, it went on for so long. And I got to learn a lot, too, so it was pretty cool. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Crazy42, and I will see you all in another video.